altogether.
Something else altogether.
That's a question. And when we make our next journey to Sacramento, and right around now is right around the time that we need to give strong consideration to what kind of voice we expect our elected officials to speak when confronted by the issues that is finding in our state new prisons and shutting down schools. Have you watched the reports of the federal government declaring that many of the nation's and the area schools are failing? And if you're looking at the local school systems, they're declaring, shut these schools down, they don't work, shut these schools down. Okay, let's say that you do that. When you shut them down, what happens with the children? Where are they to go for an education? Do you think that the school up the block is any better than the one that they're attending? How much better do you think it is? In one city, it was declared fire all the teachers in the school district. All the teachers? You mean to tell me you couldn't find one good teacher in the entire district? Is that the answer to your economic problems? And so we're looking at a time in which those who may not have the voice and the position to speak to their needs most fervently are the primary victims of the laws that are changing. Cities are broke, so they're finding new reasons to give parking tickets. Yeah. Someone was speaking earlier, I think that was Cam, about the fact that in Oakland, they skillfully found a way to avoid giving parking tickets in the hills, but increase giving parking tickets on the flatlands.
That's right.
I was parked in front of Lady College just on Thursday. I don't know if you were in school that day, but I was there that day, hanging out for some reason. And as I was sitting in the car, waiting on the persons I was waiting to pick up, I had a parking patrol person pull up next to me and said, very politely, "You need to feed the meter." And I looked up, I was reading my paper, and it was just by God's grace, the worker knew me from the Oscar Grant case, I think. And she said, "Oh, Brother Keith." Then she drove on. But I'm sitting in the car. And if she weren't making an effort to go out of her way to be kind, or after recognizing some face that she knew, mine, she didn't give me the ticket. But you know, one day, I left my children sitting in the car while I went to an ATM machine or something. When I came back, there was a ticket on the car. And I asked them, "Did you see them give me the, why didn't you stop them?" That's right. Well, they're children. But the young lady told me, "You can't sit in the car without feeding the meter." Now I'm thinking, what if I'm looking for my money? You mean I don't have time to get my nickels and dimes together to get to the machine, that the city is so desperate for money that is giving parking tickets to people that are sitting in their car before they get to the meter? One day I got a ticket when the meter maid saw me struggling with the new machines. They got the new machines now. You don't have an individual coin meter. The new machine did not work.
Right.
And I'm fiddling with it, and I can't, my car's across the street. When I come back across the street after the machine doesn't work, and you don't find them every 15 feet, they're like every block.
Right.
I didn't know where another machine was. The meter ticket giver saw me fiddling with the machine, saw me come back to my car without the appropriate ticket, and said, "Oh, that machine doesn't work." Okay, what am I supposed to do? She didn't say. So I figured that was a wink and a nod. Well, go on, I know the meter doesn't work. Park your car. No. I went on in the building. I came back, there was a ticket on my car. Now, granted, there wasn't another ticket meter machine on the block. I didn't see where to get any other parking ticket, but because the cities are so broke, they're now punishing the people who did not ask nor vote for an increase in fees for parking, an increase in fees for this, an increase in fees for that. Now the same government institutions that spend exorbitant money for things for their friends. We were talking about the gang injunction. And one of the holdups for the city of Oakland to implement it across the board was that they needed $400,000 to commission a study. $400,000 to study? I went to college. I had to pay to study. Nobody paid me $400G to study. If they paid me $400G to study, I would have gotten better grades. But my point here is, and just look at how this happens. And somebody said it seems like every time they study something in government, they pay somebody to tell us the numbers, $400,000. Well, somebody is getting rich on the wealth of the people. But the people are being scapegoated for the mismanagement of the resources of the rich.
That's right.
To be very clear, people that are family, we understand if there's not enough money in the family to make ends meet. So husband, wife, and children may sit down and say, look, family, this pizza is all we got to eat. We're going to have to slice it up in appropriate size slices that is going to provide for everybody. There's nothing else coming. And when that is said in a clear and a compassionate way, the child that likes to have 3 slices will settle for 2. The father that likes to have 2 big glasses of milk may settle for 1, because we understand what happens in government is that people do not trust the government. So if the government says you need to cut back, people look at the government and say, no, you need to cut back.
Right.
If the government needs people to make greater sacrifices in order to survive, well, if people trusted the government,
Yeah.
people would be willing to make greater sacrifices. But quite frankly, who trusts the government? Bart told us after the murder of Oscar that they're fair in their contracting with minority businesses. They said that they've offered equal opportunities to everybody. That's what Bart was claiming. Until the stimulus package came along and said, you've never been fair. And took back from Bart $70 million off the table.
That's right.
Because it was determined that over the course of time that Bart had violated repeatedly the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But if we would have just asked them, they would say all is good.
Right.
They've got a dinosaur sitting out on the side of the 580 right now where they attempted to build some new platforms out in Dublin. These platforms are sitting there rusting away because they took the people's money, invested millions of dollars to build a new platform. It's a relic. Just go off the 580 before you get to San Ramon or right around San Ramon Boulevard, and you'll see these brand new, rusted out relics built by Bart as an institution that would forever serve as a sign of how stupid many members of the board have been. They spent all those millions of dollars for nothing.
Yes.
Y'all with me now?
Yes.
So would we trust government if Bart says we need to raise the fees because of the budget tightening?
Right.
People right away say, raise the fees. You spend millions of dollars on a platform that's been sitting out there rusting away for several years now. No. There's a tendency, quite frankly, a good tendency, to be very skeptical of how government would use our money. So when we learn that $250,000 is used to incarcerate a youth per year, but nowhere near that is used to educate a youth per year, then we know that there's a system of priorities that must be amended. I bring to you a group of our community activists who have been fighting for the rights of the incarcerated, especially those that are returning into society in what we would have hoped would have been reentry programs. When judges declared that the state of California's prison system is a expression of cruel and unusual punishment, holding inmates too long, and then upon release, no system to receive us back home to help us find our way back into societal living. There's a group of activists in our cities called All of Us or None of Us that are working to make the system work, but even more importantly, to help us to work together, because we surely would not wait for government to do for us many of the things that we can, must, and should do for ourselves. Please receive to the podium our guests from All of Us or None of Us. Refresh